here today with Bradley Trevor Greive, BTG, who I've had the pleasure of working with for, I don't know, it feels like forever, but it
Was
might
it was forever.
maybe almost 2 years. It might be going on 2 years. Maybe it's a year and 8 months or something. Um, I just adore and love him beyond belief. But what is really incredible about him is his history, his expertise as a writer and as an animal expert, and also he's the EP of an incredible new show on Netflix, and it premiered on Friday called Adventure Beast. That's a show we worked on together. It is freaking hilarious. BTG
Thank
is
you.
also the lead as a voice of playing himself, which is super cool. That's very rare. Rarely do you have an EP writer who's also an actor. So it's also he's not just a triple threat. He's probably like a bajillion threat, I guess. So I'm gonna get started a little bit and ask you just a couple questions about your history to get started. So you you have an incredible I'd say you're known mostly, I think, as a writer. You have sold over 30 million books worldwide. Your books have been translated into, I think, 24, 25 different languages. And I'd like to know, like, what got you started as a writer? Like, where did that come from?
Um, Thank you, P, and thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Ashley. Everybody's here. It's a pleasure to be here with you today with fellow voiceover artists and actors and writers and producers. It's nice to be amongst your own people and to get that support. It certainly meant a lot to me and has helped me move up in my career significantly faster than trying to do it all on my own. So I commend you for making time to be here today. So my love of writing comes from a love of reading, in the same way that a love of acting comes from a love of watching movies and television. And it's important to be passionate about the medium and to be knowledgeable about it. So you absorb all that excitement and that energy and that artistry through consuming it, and then that informs your ability to create it and to convey it as a creator. So my passion for writing came from books. The big breakthrough for me when I was 10 or 11, my mother was laughing hysterically at a book that she was reading, and she just laughed so much I had to know what it was. And it was a book by the British humorist and naturalist Gerald Durrell, and the book was called My Family and Other Animals. And some of you may have heard of it, because for a long time he was the most successful English language author in the world through to the mid 80s, and he died in 97. But this book has gone on to be the basis of a number of TV series. There's a great one on BBC called The Durrells that's based on these books. Anyway, I picked it up as soon as she finished it, and I laughed and laughed. And it was the first adult book that I laughed at. Now, much of the humor went over my little head, but it started a passion for Gerald Durrell. I became a lifelong devotee, and much of my career was informed by what happened at that point, 10 or 11. I mean, obviously there was a lot of misadventure in between. I joined the army and did a whole bunch of heroic neo-suicidal stuff, but ultimately we've come back to a passion for humor and nature. And if you look at my books and if you look at my TV series to this point, you can find a thread that leads you right back to the works of Gerald Durrell.
Wow, I didn't even know that story, so that's great. Yeah, you were a paratrooper in Australia, and I know you've had some pretty harrowing experiences. Um, Not to go off topic, but those things must contribute to your life in general and your
Oh
confidence.
yeah.
Uh, tell me a little bit about like how that transformed you.
Well, in a broad sense, I don't know if any of the other members today are ex-serving. If you are, I salute you, and you're a brother or a sister to me. Yeah, I went through a phase in my life where the two things that I really enjoyed doing were not considered real careers: the arts and sport. I was a very good rugby player in my teens, and I went on to play for Army and so forth. And, obviously I have the x-rays to prove it. So I love that. I had a semi-pro contract when I was 17 to play rugby. And I thought, that's me. I'm going to be a professional rugby player. But I was discouraged from doing that. It wasn't considered a real career. And I don't regret it now because I'm 51. And had I become a rugby player, that would have all been over by the time I'm in my mid-late 20s. And then what would I do? So I don't regret it. And also, if I was so awesome at it, I would have been a professional, and I wasn't. So clearly I was that much less than I needed to be to make a career out of that. But I don't know, I got really excited. I was on a trip with my dad. We were doing a sort of a classic father-son hunting fishing trip in the Northern Territory of Australia, which is a pretty wild place. Giant crocodiles, Asiatic water buffalo in those days, and all sorts of things. And I saw the helicopter muster of the wild cattle, and this pilot just doing crazy things, brushing the tops of the trees with the blades of his helicopter and missing the ground by a matter of inches. I mean, he was insane. He even put a 44-gallon drum of avgas in the passenger seat full as a counterweight, so he could turn in both directions without any difference in performance. I mean, the guy, basically a flying bomb. And I just went, I got to do that. And so I initially signed up to fly helicopters. The Sikorsky S-70 Black Hawk was just coming into service back then. And I had the grades, and they said, yes, we'd love to have you. Not only that, you have other requirements to make it into the Royal Military College, which is like West Point Military Academy. It was quite prestigious. And so I did that because my parents were never going to let me not go to college. So I said, fine, I'll go to the Royal Military College. And then in the process of the training, I fell out of love with flying and fell in love with the Special Forces and said, okay, I got to get into the airborne units. And I was able to get into infantry and then get through into the paratroopers and so on. But there are aspects to this that I find relevant to this day. The first is the self-discipline of being motivated to go further than anybody else. That's essential in every profession. And it'll keep you alive in the Army, and particularly in an elite combat unit like mine, 3RAR Para. But you have to be the person who shrugs off the pain, who has the thick skin, who says, I'm not dead, so I'm going to keep going. And in the paratroopers, the ethos is very simple. It's die first, quit later. And that's a bit extreme for any other profession. But I promise you, if you start thinking about how lucky you are to be alive and how lucky you are to keep going, doesn't matter if you've had setbacks or illness or you've been disabled by injury or illness. If you're still alive, you're still in the game, and people are counting on you and you're counting on you. So that ethos was very valuable to me as a soldier and is valuable to me now as a writer, performer, producer. And I feel like it was an enormous advantage over everybody who didn't get that kicked into them through basic and jump school. I really feel like it was a huge advantage for me. And the second one is rather grim. And that was when I was sent to the Cambodian border in the late 80s, early 90s, and obviously still in conflict with the Khmer Rouge and Pol Pot. It was a pretty ugly time, the killing fields. And I went, as part of that tour, I spent some time at the famous Site 2 refugee camp, which at the time was the largest refugee camp in all of Southeast Asia. And, thousands of people crammed into a few hundred acres, many people living in a tented off series of poles, no bigger than a porta potty, and then have a hammock from the bottom of one pole to the top of the other and sleep kind of almost standing up, and all the possessions bundled underneath them. But the thing that stood out to me the most is I didn't meet a male, a boy or a man between the ages of 14 and 40 that had both his hands or feet. Such was a cruelty and the use of anti-handling weapons and mines at that time. It's still a process that I'm a part of demining Cambodia. And later in life, I went on to become a mine warfare expert, among many other things. And now I give that advice to symposiums of how do we get rid of these mines that were put in there. And I remember seeing this horror and thinking, wow, I've done everything I can do. I've suffered to get these wings and this beret. I've suffered to serve my country. I'm prepared to stand in harm's way for the greater good. And look at all this suffering. Look at all this horror. And it's very clear to me there's not enough bullets to kill all the bad guys, not enough Band-Aids to fix everything, never enough money to make these problems go away. I need to think very carefully about what I do with my life to make the world a better place. And part of that realization to this day is, it sounds initially selfish, but stay with me, is to do the things that make me truly happy. I know it sounds selfish, but just stay with me. Because if I do the things that make me truly happy, I will project the best of myself to others and hopefully make them happier as well. So nothing's more delightful or humbling to me than to think that the books that I laughed and cried writing have made many millions of people laugh and cry and think about things all over the world. The movie Penguin Bloom came out on Netflix early this year, also mine, based on my book Penguin Bloom, or Penguin the Magpie as it is in America. It's a beautiful true story about an Australian family. Now we have Adventure Beast on Netflix, which is my philosophy of reframing nature to get things accurate, so people stop narcissistically thinking of nature as being an extension of themselves and start seeing themselves as an extension of nature. But the other thing I would say about this horror in the killing fields was, I said to myself, and I was already a pretty hard nut at the time, obviously, but I say to myself then, and I've stuck to this day, I am never going to complain about how hard my life is. I can't do it. I cannot do it. You know, there's a wonderful expression that says, you know, I used to complain that I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet. Well, I've met that man, and I'm never going to complain. And I'm not perfect. There are times when I get down and I feel frustrated and defeated and I lose motivation. But I think about those boys, and I think about those young men in, it still hits me to this day, in Cambodia. And I'm just basically, shut the up, big man. You know, you have the opportunity to do whatever you want. All you have to put up with is people saying they don't like you or they don't like your work. Well, who cares about that? You keep going. I've got to live the best life I can for myself and for those people that I met, because they never had the opportunity that I have, and you have it every day. So sorry, make everyone cry, but that's what keeps me going. And that motivation. I've been to the edge of the world. I've seen the dark side of the human condition. I feel incredibly grateful that that is not my life. And I feel incredibly responsible that the life I do have has to be lived to the fullest. And that means getting up every day and doing the work. And I'm so lucky that the work that I do is the work that I love.
Yeah, I feel very grateful as well. Okay.
Everyone just take a breath. Just take a breath.
Mimi's very proud of me right now for not crying, because I'm the crier of the group. So I'm the well-known crier of the group. So anyway,
we're all gonna be in tears at the end of this.
I have to say, I watched Penguin Bloom, and I love that movie, and I loved Naomi Watts and what the
message. It's amazing.
Okay, so I'm going to ask another question. I'm going to change the subject. So, okay, you brought up something that is really interesting, and having worked on Adventure Beast with you, I never really thought this before, about you talking about differentiating nature from humans. The show is very irreverent. It has, I think, all the animal stuff in it is true.
It is 100% true.
It's freaking shocking. It's very shocking. Some of the stuff is done in a, I don't know if I'd want my 5-year-old to watch it.
It's adult animation. Your 5-year-old should not be watching it. Definitely.
People think it's as animals, so kids should watch it. Yeah, it's not. It's adult animation. I know the show started off as a children's, and it morphed and morphed and morphed, and I think what it morphed into is really incredible. So, can you pontificate a little bit on that theory of differentiating nature from humans? Because I don't really understand that, and if I don't understand it, maybe other people don't as well.
Sure, my pleasure. So, the motivation for this series is like many things, multifaceted. I'm obviously a multifaceted human being, and so are you. The industry will tell you that you're one thing. You're short, you're black, you're handsome, you're cheeky, you're funny, you're smiley. It's all bullshit. You're all those things. And you look, I am a 6.5 foot tall, 300-pound wrecking ball of love. Okay. I can punch an alligator in the face, and my punctuation is exquisitely accurate. So I don't like people telling me what I am and what I'm not. I'll just do the thing, okay? And I say that to all of you. So the motivations for this show, as I said, come from different areas. And one of it is obviously a lifelong love of wildlife and wild places. As I said before about Gerald Dorrell, I've loved animals since I was a little boy, and that part of me has happily never really grown up. And I love that. I'm getting to do what I loved as a kid. The other aspect is just, you know, I don't mind ignorance. I don't mind it. Everybody is ignorant about something. You know, when I was a kid, I was a teenager, my dad and I don't know if you all saw the movie Mad Max, and in Mad Max 2, you know, he had all these buggies and all these crazy feral post-apocalyptic characters riding around the desert. Well, we bought 2 wrecked buggies from that movie at the auction for like a couple of grand. And I spent 18 months with my dad cutting and welding it into one super buggy that we were building. And it had a VW base and a VW engine, which you could actually work through logically. So it's not like I'm an idiot with mechanics. I mean, I can do it. I opened the hood of my car today. I don't know what it is. I don't know what is in there. I can diffuse any contemporary explosive device or landmine in the current service in the world. It doesn't matter who built it, the Americans, the Russians, the Brits. I can disarm it or arm it. I'm an instructor on anti-handling devices. I'm an instructor on heavy weapons, nuclear, biological, radiological warfare. I can get through. I don't know what's in my car. I don't know how to work on that engine. It's just so confusing to me, all the computers. So I'm ignorant of that. I'm not an idiot. I'm ignorant. And I'm not an idiot because I own that I'm ignorant. But what frustrates me is stupid. And stupid is when you know you're ignorant or you don't know the facts and you put it forward as facts. And that drives me crazy about animals, particularly when people use animals as a basis for an argument about morality, politics, religion. It really annoys me. I don't mind you having a point of view that's different from mine, but do not say something that's wrong to justify a particular position. And so there was a character, an actor called Kirk Cameron. It was a childhood star. I think it was Growing Pains. I mean, he was like super hot back in the day. And now he runs a religious camp for kids and celebrities, religious leaders, whatever. But he was mocking this idea about gay sex and saying, oh, there's no gay sex, you know, like you don't see 2 gay giraffes. And even in the movie Gladiator, there's a joke about this guy saying, how dare you sold me these queer giraffe? You know, I want my money back. Let me tell you the facts. The fact is that 90% of giraffe sex is queer. That's a fact. He didn't sell you a queer giraffe. He sold you a giraffe, mate. And that's just how nature is. There is no species that doesn't have queer sexual behavior. The great majority of animals, there's no gender. It's nonsense. There are animals where the female has a penis and the male has a vagina, where animals change gender from male to female and back again as the gene pool requires it. This is reality. This is all in episode 5. We live on a queer planet. So part of my motivation was just setting the record straight. I don't care what church you go to, who you vote for. You know, I don't care what your lifestyle is. I just don't give a shit. What I care about is you just being wrong because you're too lazy to look it up. Because you were told something, you giggled or cringed through sex ed with your mom and dad or a church leader or a school class, and you just went through life thinking that these cautionary tales of getting pregnant or catching herpes at summer camp was somehow the sum total of all knowledge on biological reproduction. So part of it was like, I just can't live in a world where people are so goddamn stupid. Let me tell you something amazing that's true. And hopefully your brain will just grow a little bit bigger and you'll start to see the world as this extraordinary web of interconnected diversity, which is how it all really works. And that, as I hope, was a really self and intellectual expanding idea. What you do with it, up to you. I'm not advocating for a particular form of reproduction or sexual activity. I don't care. You do you. But I just want you to know what the truth is. So part of it was setting the record straight. And then philosophically, it was also, and you're speaking to someone who spent 6 years in the island of Kutztow and the Alexander Archipelago in Alaska studying these giant Alaskan coastal brown bears. And the great honor of my life was being formally adopted by the Native American Deshitan clan of the Tlingit people, and just understanding their 10,000 years, minimum, 10,000 years in this current location, their stories of them being at one with nature. And it just really helped me as a biologist to go, wow, this is how it should be. Because if you look at all the different cultures in the world, you will find them perfectly interwoven. I'm not just talking about ancient cultures. I mean, every culture, for better or for worse, is interwoven with the nature around them or the absence thereof. So all these different ideas come together. Some of them are beautiful. Some of them are angry. Some of them are hopeful. And that's the inspiration for Adventure Beast. And that's the sort of the broader spectrum of what motivates me to remind everybody that there is no us and nature. There's just nature. And that's where we're at.
Wow. There's like, so far, there's 3 TED Talks in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's accurate. Not just yanking your chain. Okay, so okay, I'm gonna now move to you as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's been really fun for me, being at every recording session with you, except for maybe the first one, was just to watch your progression to and the craft of being an actor, and how I think the longer we were recording and the more shows we did, the more that I think you just got into the pocket, and you were more and more expressed and having more and more fun and more ideas. And it was just wonderful to watch your creativity. So, do you feel like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what the question is. The question would be, why did you want to act in this? Because you didn't have to,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could have had another actor play you, but tell me why you wanted to specifically do this show as an actor.
I wanted to do it myself because it's my story. I mean, the series is autobiographical, loosely and wildly embellished. It's all, as Spinal Tap would say, it's all dialed up to 11, but it still follows my journey from soldier to wildlife conservation leader and wildlife expert. And the perspective on nature is mine and uniquely mine. You'll find in my books and in my other projects. And so I wanted, honestly, a little bit, it was ego. I wanted to own it. I also, at a very basic level, and this is a really important point for everybody, is that the key to getting ahead in Hollywood is to own your stuff. You know, it's as simple as that. You got to create the content that you will be your vehicle. None of us are interesting enough or sexy enough or unique enough to just guarantee our path into a role that we want. It's just, a lot of it's dumb luck. You can decrease the luck and increase the opportunity by putting yourself in the right position, by having the energy and the commitment to yourself and your dream to get after it. As we say in the Army, fatigue makes cowards of us all. You run out of energy, you give up. And that's true of this. You've got to improve your emotional fitness and get the thick skin in order to keep going, because we all get demoralized to some degree. But yeah, owning your own content is the easiest way in. And I'm proof of that. Okay. This wasn't my dream. This is an accidental dream. I was very happy being a New York Times bestselling author. I lived on my farm in Tasmania. I loved it. I'm not really a people person. I'm friendly enough, but you know, you'll see me. I'm not super approachable. You know, it's so, you know, that's just who I'm. A book guy. If you don't sit in a room writing books, 30 books for 25 years, if you want to hang out with people, it's just not who I am. So I'm friendly, but I'm not sociable. And I was happy on my farm, you know, on the beach there on the coast of Tasmania. It's beautiful. Maybe 7 people on my beach all summer, and 5 of them would be penguins. So that was my life. And then I had some misfortune. You know, I left the gate unlocked. I went into town to have a meal, and my 3 Great Danes got out and they killed a flock of sheep, and they were declared dangerous by the police and put down. And that was all I had, my family at that time. And so I was so sad, I didn't want to stay there anymore, even though it was paradise. And I accepted an invitation to come to Walt Disney Imagineering as a executive creative consultant in residence, which is a great honor. And because I knew I could be miserable anywhere, I wanted to do something fun and something different. And I ended up having a wonderful time, more than I thought I would. And I'm glad I did. And I loved it so much. When they invited me back, I did a second one and then a third one, which was all unprecedented. And I'm glad I did, because on my third residency, I met the woman who's now my wife and the mother of my children. So, again, getting off your ass and doing things leads to other things. Opportunity begets opportunity, work begets work. In this case, acknowledging that my heart was broken and doing what I could to make it whole ended up with me finding love, and never expected that. So, I've kind of wandered off track here, but the point is that in this journey to find my place and tell my stories and all the rest of it, I never planned to come to Hollywood. I just ended up here because I fell in love, God help me, with an American. And no plans to move to this country. I mean, why would you? It's just, you got Trump, everyone's got guns, diseases. It's insane. And I say that as someone who loves America, who served alongside American soldiers who I loved. I served with the Rangers, I served with the Green Berets, I served with Delta. So I love Americans and my brothers and my sisters. But, why would you leave Tasmania to go anywhere? You do it because you fall in love. And moving here was both the easiest and the hardest decision of my life. So now I'm in Los Angeles, a guy who likes to have no one around him. I'm now in a city with more people than my entire country. And I was freaking out. And I was very happy when my beloved was there. But when she went away from work, and she was an architect building hotels and restaurants and rides in Tokyo and Paris and Orlando and Hong Kong, I was really miserable. And I just said, I can't be the person who's only happy when my beloved is around. I've got to fill that space for myself. And so I said, what can I do here in Los Angeles that I cannot do anywhere else in the world as good? Answer: television and film. All right, I'm going to do that. And I started working on that. And I also said, where can I find a wild place that makes me feel happy, like my native Tasmania? Where can I find that? Answer: Alaska. A lifetime dream to study brown bears. I didn't know anybody. Got on a plane, got on another plane, got on a seaplane and a ferry, and I got to Yangon, didn't know anybody. No one spoke to me for the entire first year. And then the next year they found out I was elite military, and that means a lot to the Tlingit people, who believe that the journey from adolescence to womanhood and manhood requires service, martial service, develop friendships. Years later, led to various different things. And here was the breakthrough from my career. One was luck and one was hard work. And even the luck was based on hard work, really. The luck was that Chelsea Handler was dating a hunky wildlife expert, right? Big hunky, I think he was Canadian. And then they broke up, and she kicked his ass off the show, Chelsea Lately. And then the producer was looking for someone new. And they said, we want someone with more credible conservation experience. And again, that's where the hard work comes in. I already put in 20 years running projects all around the world. So I had the chops. I'd given millions of dollars to charity for my books. A percentage of all my books goes back into wildlife conservation on every country where they're sold. So I had the credibility and I had the chops because I'd put in the work. I'd put in those decades of effort. And then, so they called Betty White, because Hollywood's dysfunctional and that's who you call. And Betty White called LA Zoo, and LA Zoo said, BTG's in town. You should get him, with zero TV experience. And so they brought me in for an interview, and I got the job. And the funniest part was they said, yeah, we want someone who's credible, who's done the work and has the knowledge. But based on our previous experience, we also want someone that Chelsea Handler is not sexually attracted to. I was like, okay, thank you. But I took the job and ended up being the wildlife expert in residence for a couple of years until the show ended. And I loved it. And that led to an opportunity with Craig Ferguson on the Late Late Show. So now I had a little bit of quality national television experience. And then I got representation at UTA. Offers started coming in, small, weird things, but offers. And at the same time, I'd been adopted by the Tlingit. I had access to Native American land that no one else had been on for 400 or 500 years. Started bringing back evidence of a new subspecies of hybrid brown bear from the Ice Age. Pitched that to Discovery. Took 2 years to get it up. But then we got it up. It became a documentary feature called Fear Island, Fortress of the Bears. And now I'm rolling. And then I got a couple of other wildlife projects. And this is years ago. I've been, just by sheer chance, I'd walked into Pixar, who wanted to hire me as a writer, and they were doing Finding Nemo. And Bob Peterson, who was the head of story, looks at me and goes, "Oi," I can't do American accents. "Oi, BTG, you're an Aussie, get in here." And that was it. I did a bunch of little voices for Finding Nemo. So I had a little bit of experience. But the larger point is, if you look at all these projects, I wasn't an actor. I was just being myself. I was a subject expert, and I was the owner of the content. And that's how I wrote my ticket. So we get to Adventure Beast. Again, I'm the guy that created it. I'm the guy that writing it. There are other wonderful writers on the show. It's my version of my story and my perspective on nature. I've written my own ticket. I'm going to take that ticket. I'm going to punch the hell out of it and do the best I can. And Paulette is right. You know, we started off, I did the best I could. I learned so much along the way. A lot of it is having the right director and the right feedback. And one of the great things about working with Paulette is that even when we had a series of voice directors, and some were great and some not so great, Paulette would give me advice as well. And I grew and grew and grew. And then as soon as I could, I joined Mimi and Paulette for their master classes. I did intermediate and advanced, and that helped me enormously. Where's T? I saw Torrin here somewhere. Torrin, there he is. Hey, mate. He was in my class. We grew so much. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. And I obviously, I wish I had done that before, not only for the technical skills and the knowledge, but also because for me, a subject expert and a content creator, it gave me permission to call myself an actor and have fun. And that helped me break off some of the emotional shackles and unleash parts of myself that I'd kept restrained, and my performances were so much better. I'm probably never going to be one of the great voiceover artists, but I can be a good voiceover artist. And that, coupled with my ability to create content, is going to get me opportunities.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And that was a really incredible class that we had with Trip. I don't know, Trip, I think was on Clubhouse. I don't know if he still is. We had a really amazing group of people in that class. It was really a lot of fun, and no one knew who you were. Like, you're just a guy. I didn't say anything. I never said we were together, nothing. But you made some great friends, and it was really a wonderful class, I have to say. So where do you see your, like, I know there's you have a lot of things in the works. You always do. You have a tendency to have like a lot of balls thrown in the air.
All the balls.
All the balls, all of them. So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Well, look, my view is that, I mean, as I said, I'm 51 now. I've had 21 surgeries. I've had 7 treatments for rabies. I was faced by a bat. My nipple's been torn off like 3 times. Reindeer, Arctic fox, Mexican jackfish. I'm Frankenstein, basically. Look, I can take a lot of pain. I can keep going. Obviously, that's a core value for me, and it gives me an advantage over real TV hosts, is that I not only know the stuff, but I can take a beating and not care. That's the paratrooper in me. But I can't keep this going indefinitely. I don't see myself hosting these expedition shows for Animal Planet Discovery for more than the next 5 years. I'm going to try and get a couple more in. If one gets a hit and gets renewed, I'm going to milk it to death. I mean, I don't know if you ever watched River Monsters. It's a great show, extreme fishing show. He was like in his 60s. So I can get something like that. I'll keep doing it. But let's be honest. It's not about me not being pretty enough, because I was never pretty enough. And that's the joy of being on Animal Planet. You know, you want a big bruiser like me that can take you the places that you dream of going. But I don't think physically I can keep doing this till my 60s. So I'm going to have to shift away from that. And I want to get back to my core strengths intellectually, which are writing and content creation, and now producing. Adventure Beast is my 4th EP role. And I really feel like I'm still a beginner, but I feel like I'm getting the handle on it now. And I know who to be partnered with. I've always been very clear in my business dealings, obviously as a publishing veteran. with hundreds of publishing partners around the world. I've always been very clear to pick the right people. And not only do they have a tremendous record of success and similar aligned values, but they're the kind of people I would invite home to have a meal with my family. And if I wouldn't invite someone home to have a meal with my family, I'm not going to do business with them. I don't want to be embarrassed by someone. I don't want to be ripped off by someone. And we've all been embarrassed and ripped off, and we're all going to be embarrassed and ripped off. And we have to move beyond that. But let's try to minimize that. So I see myself having a couple of more heroic physical shows in the field, but then I'm going to move really much more strongly into scripted entertainment. I'm working on a lot of projects in that space now, as you know, and also creating projects for other people to star in. And my goal, I've often said to my agents at UTA, I'd rather star in 2 series and produce 10 than the reverse. That's the goal for me, that's the goal. And so that's where I think I'm going to go. And what I love about voice acting is that is a career that you can do indefinitely. Even as your voice changes, it becomes richer and more interesting. You become better at using it as an instrument. So I was really excited that I could possibly have created a new avenue for creative employment and opportunity. And so now when I'm looking at projects like this, I say, yeah, I'll be a part of this project, but I want to write on it, and I want to be an EP, and I want to voice a character. That's the kind of thing that I dream of doing, and I'm doing it. So I know that's a kind of a long answer, but
No.
it's never just more of the same, because nothing is ever the same. It's looking for ways to grow the skills that I have and to do more with them. And this is obvious, but I'll just say it, get a bigger ownership stake of whatever that project is. And that's only going to happen if you create more projects, you own them from the beginning, and they're successful. Mm-hmm. It's the only way it grows. And so that's what I'm committed to.
I think that's a great commitment. I know we've all been in businesses long enough. You create something, then someone wants to take it from you, and that's pretty much the standard in Hollywood, especially when you're getting started. Oh, well, you don't have any credit, so you won't get created by on this one, but the next one, and we'll steal your. I mean, I've been through this so many times, I can't even tell you. And I'm like, no. And, maybe I'd have series on the air now, but, I maybe not. But I think integrity is really important. And one thing I learned a long time ago, because I used to direct and write features, and, if you sleep with the devil, you will get burned. If you sell your soul to get something made, eventually it will F you over. And I think what you just said is very important, and aligning yourself with the right people is everything. I mean, I have Mimi and Ashley, the 2 best partners in the world. I have you as my, friend. We're working together. I have a lot of people in my life that I love and care about. And I think that for everybody that's listening, if there's somebody here that that you want to be friends with or have a better relationship, do it. Just what are you waiting for? Because you never know what opportunities happen through relationships.
Oh, and so agreed. And that's really, if this was a sport, if Hollywood was a sport, then the aim of the game is to collect as many good people as you can. That's the game. And you, over time, every project you do, you meet someone who's awesome. They could be in any aspect of the production, and you go, gotta have him, gotta have her. Now, it's hard to get them again because they're busy and they're great, but that's the game. The game is collecting good people, because you can't do it on your own. The Army taught that, and it's true of this. It's a team sport. The whole French auteur thing, utter bullshit. It's all about working with other people. And can I just say one thing that's interesting, because you do have to be humble, and you do have to suck it up a little bit on your first projects, particularly if you're trying to get an EP slice and all the rest of it. So when I got my first feature up, the as I said, Fear Island, Fortress of the Bears with Animal Planet, I obviously was the expert on these bears and was also the expert on the Tlingit. I was the only one that had Tlingit access, the only one that could get you access to this land. So I to be perfectly blunt, I had the show by the nuts. They couldn't do it without me, which is the goal. And but here was the thing. I really wanted to be the host, but as I said, even then, it was a few years ago now, I was in my mid-40s. I wasn't from America. They wanted an American accent. They wanted someone younger, someone more chiseled with better abs, more hair on their head, less hair on their back, all the things that, you know, I wasn't an ideal candidate. Okay. And then they had a new head of that whole group. And he goes, I don't want you more big bearded guys on Discovery and Animal Planet. I want young and fresh. So they replaced me as the host with someone who was younger and better looking and American. And then that person couldn't commit because the time kept shifting. And they replaced me again with someone else who was even younger and better looking. You know nothing about bears or the Tlingit, but you know, it's TV. They want someone, you know, that's how Hollywood is a lot of the time. And I was in a quandary. I spoke to a friend of mine who was a very experienced producer in Australia. And I said, what do you think? And he goes, I hate this, but you've got to suck it up, do the deal, get the EP credit, and move on. And it'll get better for you in the future. So I humbled myself and I took the deal. Now I'm flying up to Alaska, knowing that now I'm just the producer and subject expert on the Native American culture and the wildlife of this island that I've known so well. And a little bit brokenhearted, but no problem. I had to fly up a few weeks early to set up all the camera traps to get as much bear footage in advance. I'm changing planes in Seattle. I meet the EP for the network and he goes, such and such, the host didn't get his work visa. He was in the UK, he was British. So he didn't get it. So they've canceled the show. And I said, that's bullshit. You wouldn't have got out of bed this morning and got on a plane had they canceled the show because you're a fat, lazy bastard. Tell me the truth. And he goes, just kidding. You're it. You're now the host of this show. And that's how it happened. If I'd said no, I'm too proud, I'm not going to go ahead with it unless I get to be the star, there would have been no show. I humbled myself. I took what I was given, determined to build on it. Fate smiled on me and I got what I wanted from the very beginning. So, you know, sometimes being unstoppable just means getting up and going to work.
The universe was providing for you. And that was a good lesson too. That's such a great story. Oh my God. I think we could sit here for about 20,000 hours and just listen to 5,000 stories. But I don't want to take up all of your time because you're so generous to be here with us today. And I feel so honored. But I'm just gonna spring a little something on you.
Bring it.
Okay, so for the past month, we've been having this voiceover contest and on Instagram. And we have 3 finalists. One is Sorsha Morava, which is here today. One is Chris Bass, which is also here today. And one is Travis Hodges, who happens to be on our Clubhouse right now. And Travis, if you're listening to me, get on Zoom if you can so you can meet BTG. And I'm going to show you each one of their performances on Instagram. And you are going to pick they've already won stuff, by the way, so don't feel bad. They've already each one of them has won a free class. They've already
nice.
Yeah. So this is like a bonus thing. So they've already won. So don't feel bad. It's okay. But I'm going to show you all these 3 and you get to be the final judge.
Ooh, wow. No pressure. No pressure. All right.
They will also like you. It's fine. So we're going to start with Sorsha's, and she did this green monster person. And hold on 1 second because I got to share my screen with you guys. So 1 minute. Hopefully do this properly. Here we go. Here's Sorsha. She's not just talented, but she's also very pretty. So she's like she's really amazing.
Bonus points. Just kidding.
Okay, here we go. And let me get back to
No. Absolutely not. You're incorrect. Ghostbusters is superior to Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters are just some reality stars on the big screen that are doing it for the views. Ghostbusters is behind the scenes putting in the work. A matter of fact, you know that Amanda for Ryan Watson? Yeah, Well, we got a lead that he's under the raised garden bed in the bunker. So we're on top of it. Make sure you call Ghoul Busters whenever you need some help.
Okay, here's the next one. This is, oh my God, Sorsha, you crack me up. This is Travis Hodges, and he is doing a little baby Dracula. 1 second. No, that's not it. Hold on 1 second. I'm just trying to put this in the chat. In my, I'm sorry, in my browser. There's Travis.
Girls, how's boys and girls? My name is Dracula. That's Dracula. Yeah. Hi. Don't be afraid. I don't want to suck your blood. I just want to suck the caramel out of all of your candies. I like high fructose corn syrup. Mm-hmm. The Starburst are okay because they're soft and chewy still. But Twix bars are the best because the Twix bars are the best because there's two. That's 1, 2 for each thing, and I like those. Rolos are good. Rollers are tasty. I like them a lot. They're really, really good, and it's tasty. So if you don't mind, listen, it's the children of the night. I can hear them. They're singing such beautiful music. What is it? Trick or treat. Oh, give me something good to eat. Happy Halloween.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, and here's Chris Bass, who's going to be playing a mummy.
I'm agreeing.
1 second.
The only reason I'm agreeing to do this interview is because I was promised gluten-free bandages. Has anyone seen my cat? He was just here 3,000 years ago. I have definitive proof the pyramids were not built by aliens. Because I was the interior designer.
Oh my God. So again, that is Chris Bass, Travis Hodges, and Sorsha Morava. I know, like they're so also funny and great.
It's so good. They're so good. Congratulations on the three of you being the finalists. Oh my God, the pressure. I love it. Very good. Sorsha, I just loved your mouth work and your tongue and your cheek work, the fleshiness of that. It just was so gross and funny. And that's the kind of thing that sets people apart. And I love that a lot. Travis, you just found a sweet spot with that voice. I fell in love with your little parasitic friend. And, well, technically he's a sanguivore, isn't he? But just absolutely love that. And Chris, that I felt like that was a performance from a movie. I just felt like that was already on screen. That's how polished it was. It was very good. So just beautiful. I'm going to make a point after I declare the winner, if I can, P, and just build on something that was in all those performances. It was great, which was the writing. But Travis is the winner. I felt that was a very well-rounded little character. I just adored him, and just well done, Travis. Congratulations.
Woo! Congratulations, Travis.
Thank you.
So this is what you've won. You already won a class, whichever you want to take in the future. But you also won. We have a new seminar we're doing. We just launched it, and it's called Kick Butt Completion and Renewal Seminar. It's on December 11th. And then on top of that, you are getting 3 coaching sessions, one with Ashley, one with me, and one with Mimi,
Nice.
private coaching. So we'll
That's
send you all
amazing.
that information. Congratulations, and congratulations to Sorsha and Chris. You're amazing. And I think BTG, did you want to say anything else, BTG?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a final point about my limited experience as an EP casting voice actors for Adventure Beast. And one of the nice things about being the creator and EP of a show that you get to have final say over who gets to be on the show. And you don't usually get to see anybody. You hear the audition, and of course, no one is better than Mimi, Ashley, and P as far as telling you how to prepare for that. So take their advice because it's great. But the one thing I will say about the performances that cut through and the actors that we cast was that each of the actors, as I saw there from Saoirse, Travis, and Chris, added their own sparkle to it with a bit of writing. You're a storyteller. You happen to be acting, but you're also a writer. You're choosing the message and what you're going to say and bringing a little bit of that. Now, there is going to be a time when you come up against writers and EPs who are precious little dicks, and they're not going to like the fact that you mess with their scripts. And if I can just quote myself when I was 24-year-old paratrooper, f them all, just f them. You do you, because ultimately, you're going to break through not because you followed the letter. There's a misconception about professional creativity that it only applies to works of creativity, to the book, to the script, to the performance. No. Being creative as a professional is like breathing. You wake up, you don't wake up one day and go, oh, I'm going to start breathing. You are creative about everything you do. And that includes how you prepare for and apply for a job and a role, and how you submit your work, everything. If you want to stand in line like dumb cattle, then be expected to be treated like dumb cattle. If you want to stand out, then be your best creative self. And so those 3 performances by Saoirse, Travis, and Chris all had that extra bit because they created it. They were given an idea and they made it their own. And each of the key roles in our show, behind me you can see animated me and animated Dietrich. And let's be honest, animation does add 40 pounds. So, but the people who got cast, Denise Cabanella, who plays my niece Bonnie, inspired by my real life favorite niece, Jessica, who's a geologist. Dietrich, who was this terrified sidekick and was supposed to be killed off in episode 1. When Josh Zuckerman did the role, initially he was supposed to be European because Netflix wanted someone European for the global market, right? So he did this kind of weird, fruity, trans-Euro German thing. It was hilarious. And then they went back to their marketing group and they said, no, he has to be American, or at least North American. Well, we like Josh so much. We went back to him and said, let's not do the Euro thing. Can you do just as a North American, whether it's Canadian or any of the various North American accents? And he did, and he still got the role. That's how good he was, that he could do it all. And he brought his own personality to it. It was so funny that we rewrote the series to keep that character alive. We rewrote the whole series. So instead of him dying in episode 1, he's now a part of the regular cast. And Denise Cabanella, so we obviously wanted diversity. And I said, look, I'm the star of the show. I'm a big white guy. I'm straight. What we want really to balance this up and add more depth to it is we want a petite woman of color. And, and her character is going to be queer. That's just how it's going to be. So we started looking for that. And we had a lot of wonderful actors. I remember we had like 40 actors in the short list. They were so good. And then finally we did readings with, I think, was it 12 or 20? I can't even remember. But Denise Cabanella stood out. She's a Filipino American, but she stood out because she changed the energy somehow and added this sort of ferocious joy to it. It was just a little bit cruel, but also hysterical. And it just jumped out at me. I remember I showed it to my wife. My wife's an architect, but she used to be a singer in a band, and she's got a SAG card. She's been in a bunch of commercials back in the day and I just said, I feel like Denise is the only one I could really take into the field and not come back dead. She has this energy about her, she's just got it. And she agreed with me. And then she came in for the live reading, which was largely improvised. And she just went for it. I will say that this is an animal show and there's a live action component. If you watch the show, stick for the credits because a few live action stings directed by Zach Bornstein from SNL, and they're really fun. We brought live animals to the casting. We brought them. So for the final readings, the women had to interact with the animals, and we said, you don't have to pick them up, but you got to interact with them. And it was fascinating to me how some of them just couldn't relate and were afraid of it and couldn't mask their fear, which is part of being an actor. Denise happened to love animals and she was game for it. The issue with her is not getting her killed because she's just grabbing everything. And the first day on set, she goes, show me how to pick up a scorpion, which no one has ever asked me before. And by the end of the shoot, she could do it. I mean, it's simple technique, but it takes enormous courage. But getting back to my earlier point, which relates to these performances from Sorcerer Chris and Travis, everybody who got a role made it their own and added a little bit that was uniquely them and took it in a slightly different direction. I'm not every producer, but I loved it and we adapted to them. And as a writer, we wrote around it to get the best of them in the show. So all I would say to you is, we know it's a bit of a crapshoot every time. There's dumb luck involved. There's good days and bad days. But as P and Mimi said to me, and Ashley would have said had she been in the class teaching, is that give them 2 takes. Give them straight up what they're asking for, and then add your own special sauce. Because I promise you, the only way you will cut through is if you do something a little unexpected. And even in the case of Josh, we ended up not wanting the Euro thing, but he was so funny, we went back to give him that second bite. And that happens a lot as well. Okay, that's too much lisp, that's too much gargle, but the reading is so good, the director can bring you back to where we need you. So do 2 takes and make sure the second take has something that's uniquely you, and mess with the script a little bit to make it suit you, what you can do. And that's how you cut through and you end up starring on a show.
Well, that is a great advice to end on. And I do have to say, Denise and Josh are amazing actors, never complain, always a great mood. In fact, I've gotten Josh a few jobs with Mimi. I've referred him for other work. I love both of them, and you especially, and I just really want to thank you for today. This has been, I think this is my favorite thing we've ever done.
Aw,
Ditto.
thank you.
Me too.
Ditto.
I hate
Ditto.
to say, I'm not trying to
Ditto,
back
love
all
you.
other guests, but
Love
was
this
like
man. Yes.
different level.
We've had some really inspiring people on here, but I think this is my favorite one.
Oh my gosh. BTG,
That's-
thank you.
That's the value. That's the value of being shot at. It gives you a tremendous clarity about life.
That's the value of not giving an F.
I just don't, and don't get me wrong. I care about my work. I really do. And I know I'm putting food on the table for my family. I know that what I do now determines where I'll be in 3, 4, 5 years. I'm always thinking 3 jobs ahead. Momentum is everything in this business. I once, after the dogs died, I struggled for a while with depression. I went and got help because I'm tough enough. I'm a man or a woman, whatever you want to be. You're a human being. You're an adult. When you get hurt, get treatment. I was depressed. I got help. I got back in the gym. I got back in my life. I started writing again. And now the momentum is built back up and all these wonderful things are happening. Life is never going to be perfect. You're going to get hurt. This whole California thing about a life with no regrets, complete bullshit. Every life is full of regrets. Regrets are the purple threads that give depth to the tapestry of life. It's being able to live with those regrets and learn from them and use them to inspire you to achieve great things. But I cannot tell you enough. Momentum, momentum, momentum. Never feel sorry for yourself. Always be grateful, and then go out and get it, because why not you?
Why not you? That's exactly.
Why not you?
Someone has to be that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much, BTG.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Mims, Ashley, P, I love you. Thank you for all your help, helping me grow as an artist, and just the collaborations that we're enjoying. Just really grateful. As I said, it's all about collecting good people, and it's a game I'm determined to win.
Bless your heart.
You are fantastic. Thank you
Yes,
so
you
much,
are.
G, and congratulations to all of these winners.
It was
And
an honor to share this session with you all, and we're not different. I am you, you are me. It's a pleasure to learn from each other's wins and from each other's setbacks, and it's just a joy to be here. So thank you for having me. And just when I say good luck, I don't mean it in a fruity, flowery way. I mean, go get it. Go get it. Someone else is going to get it. Why not you? Go get it.
I guess I want a autobiography now.
Give me a signed picture of yourself.
I need the autobiography too.
oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, this was so fantastic.